Hey guys, hoping all is well with everybody. In this video we're going to be concluding the read-along of The Positive Dog by John Gordon. We're going to be starting off with chapter 21, and as always I'll be showing you any pictures as we come across them. But as always, definitely feel free to follow along. Chapter 21, No Ordinary Day. Matt woke up a few days later on the morning that started like any other. Matt and Bubba were making funny faces at each other while lying in their cages after breakfast, when a visitor came walking through the shelter. He looked into Matt's cage and said, "What a cute mutt." Matt thought, "This is it. This is the day." He was so excited. But then the man turned around and looked into Bubba's cage. "Hey, old boy," the man said as he reached into the cage and rubbed Bubba's head. The man turned to Barry and said, "That's him." Bubba couldn't believe it. Dreams do come true, he thought, slowly wagging his tail. It was his dad. He was alive. Bubba's dad told Barry that he had been in the hospital since the fire, and the first thing that he did when he got out was to look for Bubba. "I lost everything else in my life, but I knew I would find my Bubba," he said. As Barry opened Bubba's cage, Matt realized it wasn't an ordinary day at all. It was the day Bubba was leaving the shelter. Bubba stood in front of Matt's cage while his dad signed some papers. "I always thought you would be the first to leave," said Bubba. "I know, but I'm really happy for you," said Matt. "I know you are. I'm happy too, but I sure am going to miss you and our talks," said Bubba. "I'm going to miss you too," Matt said as Bubba's dad put a collar and leash on Bubba and walked him away from the kennels. As Bubba approached the exit, he turned around one last time to see Matt. "I'm going to miss you more than you know," Matt said quietly under his breath. Chapter 22. Negativity Serves a Purpose. The next few days seemed like an eternity. Each morning Matt woke up and looked into Bubba's empty cage. He tried to go back to sleep, but couldn't. He missed Bubba and his sadness consumed him. He knew it wasn't doing him or anyone else any good to be sad, but he couldn't help it. He felt like the positive dog inside him had died. Then, one night, while looking at the stars that filled the dark, clear sky, Matt thought about the negativity he was feeling and realized that negativity does serve a purpose. It helps you see the positive in the world, just as the darkness allows you to see the stars. If you didn't have negative experiences, you would never be able to appreciate the positive ones. If you were never sad, you wouldn't know what it felt like to be happy. If you never felt fear, you wouldn't know what it felt like to have faith. If you were positive all the time, then you wouldn't even know you were being positive because there would be no contrast. You would feel the same all the time. Matt decided that negativity was a part of life, and no one should never try to get rid of it completely. After all, if there wasn't a negative emotion such as sadness, then he wouldn't know what it felt like to miss his best friend Bubba. If he wasn't able to feel anger, he wouldn't have never been able to protect himself from the wild animals he met in the forest, before he was brought to the shelter. If he never complained, he wouldn't know how good it felt to be grateful and create solutions. Matt realized that, ironically, there were positive benefits to be gained from negativity. Negativity actually helps you see and appreciate the positive. Negativity forces you to feel those painful emotions so you can recognize and appreciate positive emotions. Negativity builds character and strength when we preserve and overcome it, and facing negative dogs in the world causes us to build positive mental and emotional muscle. The next day, as he got outside, Matt walked to the spot where Bubba buried Jade's book and dug until he found it. He scooped it up and found the part that supported his belief that negativity, in fact, was a necessary part of life. According to the book, the key was to have more positivity than negativity. In fact, research by Barbara Fredrickson showed that the key ratio to remember is 3 positive emotions for each negative one. People who flourish experience a ratio greater than 3 to 1, 3 positive emotions to 1 negative emotion, whereas those with lower ratios, 2 to 1 or 1 to 1, languished. The research also showed this to be true for teams at work. Teams that experienced interactions at a ratio greater than 3 positive to 1 negative were more productive and higher performing than those with a ratio of less than 3 to 1. Discovering this ratio shook Matt out of his funk. He was still sad Bubba was gone, but he just needed to turn a negative into a few positive. He needed to experience more positive emotions than negative emotions. He was so inspired he decided that if he ever met Barbara Fredrickson, he would lick her hand. Then he asked himself, what would Bubba do? And knew it was time for action. Chapter 23. What would Bubba do? Bubba wouldn't let his sadness take him down a spiral staircase of despair. Bubba would turn a negative event into a positive outcome. He would transform a challenge into an opportunity to make a difference. Instead of focusing on what he had lost, Bubba would focus on what could be gained. Matt decided that if Bubba would and could do it, he should and could too. With Bubba gone, it was up to him to take the lead and share and teach positivity. He didn't know how much longer he would be at the shelter, but he did know that he should make the most of the time he had there. Bubba was proof that dreams could come true, and so Matt kept his hope and vision alive while taking action to feed the positive dog in others. He mentored other dogs the way Bubba had mentored him, especially the new dogs that came to the shelter and the old dogs that had been there the longest. He thought that the young pups were the most open-minded, and once he helped a bunch of them become more positive, he showed the old dogs what positivity can do. He told the old dogs to think like rookies and not to let their past experiences hold them back. He told them not to focus on the good old days and believe their best days were behind them. Instead, he told them, create your good old days right now and believe that even better days are ahead of you. Matt taught all of the dogs at the shelter the importance of feeding the positive dog and shared strategies to help them do it. Of course, there were a few that refused to listen or take his advice, but Matt knew that the negative dogs were a part of life and he refused to let them bring him down. Instead, they made him stronger and more passionate about helping more dogs be positive. His enthusiasm was contagious and he attracted even more friends than ever. Matt loved everyone and put his love into action. He listened to other dogs and coached them when they were having problems. He gave constant encouragement and other dogs accomplished things that they thought they never could or were possible. They became skilled frisbee catchers and ran faster than they ever had before. He believed in the other dogs more than they believed in themselves, and when they found success, they knew his encouragement had made a difference. Matt also made the time to share his appreciation with those who helped around the shelter and recognize the dogs that had become more positive. He found that appreciation, recognition, and mentoring were also great ways to feed the positive dog in others, and over time, his appreciation, recognition, encouragement, love, kindness, and mentoring increased the positivity in the shelter. 3 months after Bubba left, it was clear that Matt had taken a negative event and turned it into a positive outcome. And here's a picture of Matt mentoring some of the younger and older dogs. Okay. Into a positive outcome. The little guy had made a big impact. The shelter was transformed and everyone knew it, even the 3 negative dogs who isolated themselves from everyone else. As Matt lay in his cage one night dreaming of taking a walk in the park with a family that loved him, he realized that the sad event of Bubba's departure had created an opportunity for him to live with purpose and transform the shelter into so many positive ways. Chapter 24. A Special Day. A few days later, as Matt lay in his kennel thinking about some funny dog jokes, he heard the footsteps of a family as they entered the shelter. He smelled the perfume of a woman, the odor of a man, and the innocence of children. He listened as Barry opened some cages to show the family a few of the dogs. One of them will get picked, and I will be happy for them, thought Matt. After all, every dog and owner has already been matched before they even meet. He could hear the family getting closer to his cage, but he didn't move. While he had faith, he had also learned not to get his hopes up. He stayed curled up with his head down until he felt the hand of a little boy reach into his cage and touch the top of his paw. "This one, Daddy," the boy yelled as the parents followed their son to Matt's cage. The man and woman peered into the cage to look at Matt, who decided it was time to stand up and share a smile to brighten their day. "You like this one?" the dad said to his son. "Yes, Daddy," the boy said. Barry took Matt out of his kennel and gave him to the boy who held Matt in his arms. Matt smiled, looked into the boy's eyes, and looked cute as ever, keeping still except for wagging his tail. "He's not too big and not too little," the boy said. "He's just right," the mom said, as he lifted Matt from her son's arms and held him in her own. Matt never felt anything like it. He didn't know how to describe it, but it felt like love. Then Matt heard the words he had always dreamed of hearing. "We'll take him," the mom said before handing Matt to the boy's older sister. She looked into Matt's eyes, kissed him on the nose, and said, "I already love you," to which Matt replied, "I've always loved you, and I've been waiting for you." "Let's take him home," the dad said as they walked towards Barry's office to sign the papers. As the family walked towards their car with Matt in the little girl's arms, he couldn't believe it was really happening. He had become a positive dog, fed others, made a difference in the shelter, and now it was time to go home. Chapter 25. Two positive dogs are better than one. A few months later, Matt woke up feeling thankful that he had a family that loved him. He thought about Bubba and all that he had learned about positivity at the shelter, and realized that being positive really is a choice, and feeding the positive dog inside you is one of the most important choices you can make. He had become an expert at feeding the positive dog and starving the negative dog, and continued to experience the positive benefits in his life. More fun, joy, love, health, and friends made him feel so alive and happy that it was hard to believe he once had been so negative. It was as if the old negative Matt had been another dog. Sure, he still felt negative at times and experienced negative events, but those negative emotions and experiences no longer defined him. Now he was defined by the positive stories he told himself and the positive dog actions he took to feed himself and others. As Matt walked to the park with his family, he did what he had done every day since meeting Bubba. He enjoyed a thank you walk and thought of all the things that he was grateful for and prayed for his family and all the dogs at the shelter who weren't adopted yet. He found that gratitude and prayer not only diffused the negative thoughts and emotions he felt, but also transformed him from the inside out. They were no longer just strategies to become more positive, they became who he was. As Matt and his family approached the park, they crossed paths with a woman and an angry dog that wouldn't stop barking at Matt. Matt didn't respond. He had learned how to deal with negative dogs and wouldn't let them affect him in a negative way. Rather, he saw them as teachers who taught him to be more positive. He knew that to thrive in this world, his positivity had to be greater than the negativity he faced. When Matt and his family reached the park, Matt was let off his leash and he sprinted into circles as the children chased him. This was what life is all about, Matt thought as he stopped and rolled over on his back so the kids could catch up and rub his belly. When he got to his feet, he looked up and saw a man walk into the park with a big dog that had a familiar gait. Could it be? Matt thought, as the man and dog came closer. Matt recognized the dog's smell. I think it is. He ran up to the big dog and couldn't believe it. It was Bubba, all right. I can't believe it's you, said Matt. I thought I'd never see you again. I can't believe it's you either, responded Bubba. I often wondered if you were adopted, and now I know my little buddy realized his dream. I'm so thrilled for you. So what are you doing here? Asked Matt. We just moved to the neighborhood. Do you like it? Asked Matt. I like it a whole lot better now, said Bubba. As I always say, two positive dogs are better than one. You got that right, said Matt. The neighborhood is about to get a double boost of positivity. And as Bubba's dad and Matt's family met each other, the two positive dogs played tag and reminisced about the fun they had learning to feed the positive dog. They didn't know while they were at the shelter, but what had seemed like the worst of events of their lives served as preparation for the life they now enjoyed. They had become positive dogs, and the world was a more positive place because they were in it. The end. And here's Bubba and Matt running in the park together. And that is the end of The Positive Dog. I hope you guys really enjoyed this story. I know I did. If you guys have any requests or anything for a read-along, please let me know. I'd be more than happy to do one. And I hope you guys have a great day filled with positivity and have a great one. Please take care. Thanks for watching.